Hello and good morning. I figure I'm going to do another one of these. So I'm doing a series of videos on the classical aspects, and I figured rather than talking about just the aspect as this is what an opposition is, I'm looking at the oppositions between each of the signs, and then this is a different kind of take on doing a kind of a cookbook astrology style, because times people will do like combos, like this is what happens when you put these two planets together, but without, this is more specific with the aspects, looking specifically at relationships that are always there based on the structure of the zodiac. um, so I'm going through the oppositions one by one, and so today I'm going to do the Leo Aquarius opposition. Um, these are two signs that are both fixed signs. Um, the Leo is the domicile of the sun, which is the kind of the primary light in the sky. It's the biggest, largest object, and so for this reason, in astrology, when people talk about like what is your sign, they're talking about the sun sign. And so it kind of, there's this, the star of the show kind of thing is the sun, and so Leo takes on this quality of being the star of the show, and is Leo the king, is kind of like the leader, the hero, the protagonist, and all that kind of stuff. And so if we're telling a story, usually that is contrasted maybe by a villain, and so usually that, in contrast to the sun, Saturn often takes these like darker, it's kind of like the bad guy, which is the greater malefic. So it's the big baddie, contrasting, giving an obstacle or a lesson for the hero protagonist of the sun to learn, right? Now, the thing is with Saturn here, though, it's not to say that Leo's contrasted by a bad guy Aquarius, but rather that Aquarius represents a place that the sun, with this theory of the, when a planet is in its opposite sign, it's in detriment. The sun is in detriment in Aquarius. It's a challenging place for the sun to be, and what that is all about is, if you look at the image of Aquarius, the character of the water bearer, where that comes from is really a servant to the king, right? It's somebody who's, if the king is having his court, who's the closest guy, who's like, you have to have somebody that you trust to, that's not going to betray the king, because if you're the water bearer, you could poison the water, right? You're like your closest servant, your help and stuff like that. And I think this is really like, it kind of, there's the certain thing that the king has a lot of power, but that power is because the king is in his self a servant or something like that, but he's backed up. Like, who's all the backstage hands that you don't see, that, you know, the king gets all the credit, but who are all these people that if they wanted to they could knock him off, but they're they pledged their loyalty, right? And so there's something about Aquarius which is more of like the faithful servant, right? You're taking a pledge of loyalty, of being in service to something that's greater than yourself. And so that is, it's like the compromise. The sun just wants to be number one, basically. The sun wants to be the solar ego that gets its say and gets to do what it wants. It doesn't really do very well with this whole thing about it's a challenge to reach this compromise, but that's what Aquarius is all about, is compromising. And really, and I think both, you can make an argument that Capricorn and Aquarius are both about the compromising in teamwork, right? It's in your working as a team, or working in service towards a community, or as a part of a greater whole kind of thing. Whereas the problem that comes up with Leo is it can be too self-centered. It's either about self-gratification or self-expression. It's about, I want to get my message out and express me and have all the spotlight on me, and it can be a bit arrogant and not really understand that, like, yeah, there's other people who want to express some stuff as well. How do you compromise and fit in with the bigger picture? So this is the basic archetypal tension, the archetypal dynamic between Leo and Aquarius. And I think there's something about, I mentioned in my other video, this looks like it's only been going for 5 minutes now, so I can probably do this as a quicker video. My other ones I've gone on longer, but I mentioned before that the tarot card that's associated with the sign of hold on, let me think about this. Leo's strength, isn't it, actually? Because they've got the lion, right? But there's the if you look at the domicile ruler of Leo, it's the sun, right? And the sun card in tarot has this kind of thing of like the young child and like the big glowing sun, and it's kind of this sort of like, youthful adventure kind of what we associate with the summer, having fun and just like that, like this is the good life, right? Like that's kind of that. There's something about this sort of like, just kind of innocent, radiant, like kind of joyous thing that is like a nice quality of Leo, but it's sort of like, I think part of what contrasts that with Aquarius is it's like there's responsibility kind of thing, right? And that you have to kind of balance the kind of the playfulness with the adult responsibility, and if that doesn't match up, then you get some pretty big problems with this that are characterized in this opposition, right? Like if you can't balance those two, you just become like the puer thing. The puer senex is a good one, right? The senex being more of the Aquarius, the puer being more of the Leo, right? And if you don't mature around this opposition, you just become like an overgrown child that is just causing troubles because you're completely irresponsible. You don't understand how you fit into the bigger community and all this kind of thing, right? But then on the other hand, that there's a certain weight that comes with Saturn signs like Aquarius, and if you're taking on too much of a burden, and you're not, it's like that's kind of the thing, like you don't want to overburden yourself and take on too much of all the responsibility, like it's your job to handle everything and solve all the problems and all this kind of that. Then you just make yourself sick from it, right? So it's like but this is the tension, right, of being kind of the young boy versus the old man. I think you can see very much and I think if you can help to balance these, like if you're like, temperance, right, you're mixing the two together, a bit of this and a bit of that, and balancing out, then it's healthy. But if you don't get it right, it could cause problems either way, kind of thing. And this, if you look at charts where you have this opposition happening, it kind of brings up the importance of getting that right. And I think so. You could also apply this to a few years back. We had eclipses highlighting this axis, and so that would be one thing to think about, is that maybe if what I'm describing here makes sense for the eclipses that were going around that time, perhaps. I'm just throwing that out as a possibility anyways. Okay, I think this is pretty good as just a quick one for this opposition.